Have you ever heard a voice whispering your name in the woods when no one else was around? What if it wasn't just the wind? This is Nightmare and Fear, where every night hides a new terror, and you're just one story away from never sleeping the same again. Evergreen Tree, if this story chills your bones, do us a favor, subscribe and help us reach 1,000 brave souls. Because what you're about to hear is unlike anything you've ever imagined. Now turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't answer when the forest speaks. My name is Lucas Grant. I'm 31 years old now, but what happened to me and my brother Jason 10 years ago still feels like it happened yesterday, like something burrowed into my memory and refused to rot away. We had planned a simple hiking weekend in Vermont's Grover's Notch Reserve, a remote forest known for its thick, twisted pines and complete radio silence. There are no rangers, no facilities, just a gravel trail that leads you deep into the woods where the sky disappears and the trees groan when the wind doesn't blow. Jason always loved isolation. He thought there was something spiritual about being totally alone in nature. Me? I liked knowing there was cell service and an exit trail. But that weekend, I let him talk me into pushing deeper into the woods than we ever had before. Big mistake. We found a flat area surrounded by massive pine trees with roots that twisted like broken limbs above the soil, curling around rocks and coiling into the dirt like they were trying to crawl away. I remember stepping on one and hearing it creak under my boot, not crack, not snap, creak, like old floorboards under weight. Jason set up our tent while I gathered firewood. I kept hearing faint popping sounds beneath the ground, like bubble wrap being stepped on. I thought maybe it was underground water or rodents. I didn't mention it. That night, everything changed. We were sitting by the fire, roasting marshmallows, when we heard the first whisper. Lucas. It came from behind me. Crisp. Quiet. Too close. I turned so fast I almost knocked over my camp chair. Jason just laughed. He thought I was imagining it. But then, Jason. This time, it was behind him. We looked at each other. Neither of us had spoken. The fire dimmed. No wind. No insects. Just silence, and this, pressure in the air, like the forest was holding its breath. We zipped into the tent early, telling ourselves we were just tired. But I couldn't sleep. Because from under the earth, I started hearing it. Scratching. Like fingernails on the underside of the soil. At around 2 a.m., Jason started mumbling in his sleep. Then he sat up. Straight up. His eyes were open, but he wasn't awake. He said, "They're hollow underneath. Don't step on the roots." I asked him what he was talking about. He looked at me, eyes dead and wide, and said, "The roots remember. The forest forgets." Then he collapsed. The next morning, he didn't remember anything. I wanted to pack up. Jason insisted we stay one more night. While gathering more firewood, I found something half buried in moss. A rusted compass, old and dented, with dried blood crusted along the side. And next to it, a torn page from what looked like a forest ranger's log. Section 7A marked again. Roots keep shifting. Still hearing the voices. Rangers avoid the hollows. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the tent ceiling, heart pounding, as something shifted outside, slow, dragging movements around our site. Then I heard it again. "Jason, it's cold down here." It was my voice. From beneath the ground. Jason sat up again. He grabbed the hatchet and walked outside. I followed him barefoot. The fire was dead. Jason stood over one of the large pine roots, staring down. There was a hole. It hadn't been there before. Just a wide, open pit surrounded by twisted root ends like fingers. And it was breathing. The earth pulsed with a slow inhale and exhale, the dirt rising and falling like lungs. Jason stepped forward. I screamed. He turned to me and smiled, but it wasn't his smile. "We always return to the root," he whispered. He fell in. Gone. I ran. I didn't grab the tent, my bag, nothing. Just ran, barefoot, bleeding, until I saw the first parking sign hours later. The Rangers didn't believe me. They said there's no Section 7A in Grover's Notch. But 3 months later, I went back with police. The campsite was gone. No tent. No fire ring. No roots. Only flat ground, and a single wooden sign nailed to a tree that hadn't been there before. It said, "Do not wake the roots." Have you ever wondered what would happen if a place simply stopped following the rules of time? What if you went to sleep at night and woke up 5 minutes before you went to bed? Tonight's story isn't just another campfire tale. It's a terrifying experience from deep within the Colorado wilderness, where a group of friends discovered a camp that shouldn't exist, and the night that repeated itself again and again, each time more twisted than the last. Studio microphone, you're watching Nightmare and Fear, where real horror lives after dark. If you love spine-chilling stories that crawl under your skin, hit that subscribe button right now. We're racing toward 1,000 brave souls. Will you be one of them? Let's dive in. But beware, once you hear this story, you may never trust time again. We were 5 friends on a weekend getaway, just a typical group trying to unplug. No phones. No distractions. Just pine trees, whiskey, and the smell of mountain air. We hiked up to a secluded area off Bear Ridge Trail, way past the usual sights. No marked paths. Just wild country and silence. We set up our tents by a creek, lit a fire, and cracked jokes until night swallowed the woods. That was the first night. Or so we thought. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up with a weird feeling in my chest, like the atmosphere was off. Not dangerous. Just wrong. The forest was silent. No bugs. No wind. Not even the creek made sound. That was the first time I heard it, the humming. It was faint at first, like someone tuning an old radio behind a wall. High-pitched, rhythmic. It started behind the trees, then circled the camp. I shook Will awake, but by the time he sat up, it stopped. We figured it was wind. It wasn't. Day 2 started normally. Eggs, coffee, half-burnt bacon. But when Mia checked her watch, she looked confused. It's still 6:44? We laughed. Maybe it was broken. But then Parker pulled out his old-school compass watch. It showed the same exact time. No seconds moving. Just stuck. And weirder still, the sun didn't move. We packed up and decided to head back. But after 3 hours of walking, we ended up right back at the campsite. The fire was still lit, just like we left it. The logs hadn't even burned further down. It was as if we never left. That night, the humming returned. Louder this time. It had rhythm now. Like breathing. Something stood behind the trees. We could see it. Just barely. A figure. Tall. Pale. head tilted like it didn't understand what it was looking at. We ran deeper into the woods. But the more we ran, the more we looped back. Then came the third night. Except it wasn't a new night at all. It was the same one. Same jokes. Same fire. Same stars. But the expressions on our faces were different. We weren't laughing anymore. Our eyes looked hollow. Even we didn't recognize ourselves in the reflections. Parker tried something. He marked his hand with a knife. But in the next loop, the scar was on the wrong hand. And Mia didn't come back the next time. On what I think was night 6, only 3 of us remained. But that humming, now it was inside the tent. And this time, we didn't run. We followed it. We walked into the pines, hands shaking, flashlights dying. Until we reached a clearing where no stars shined, no moon glowed. And that's when I saw it. A tent. Not ours. Old, shredded. Covered in moss. Inside were photographs of us, sleeping, eating, screaming. Pinned like trophies. And behind it, a mirror that reflected nothing. I touched it. And woke up by the fire again. Alone. I don't know how I escaped. I don't even know if I did. I only know I'm not the same. Sometimes I'll blink and see a pine tree in my room. Or hear that humming when the house is dead quiet. I left that camp. But I don't think it ever left me. My name is Graham Foster. I'm a forestry technician based in northern Alberta, Canada. Back in 2019, I joined a weekend retreat organized for environmental workers, just a small group, camping deep near an abandoned granite quarry called Edgewater Pit. It wasn't on any official maps anymore. The place had been shut down since the 80s after a landslide supposedly buried half the site. But someone rebuilt a trail out there. And the forest seemed to lean inward as we walked in, like it didn't want us to leave. We were 10, 2 women, 8 men. Tents. Beer. Flashlights. Phones with no service. The usual. What wasn't usual was the pond. A wide, flat pool at the bottom of the pit. No ripples. No frogs. No sound. And I swear to this day, it had a reflection of the moon even before the moon came out. Skull and Crossbones' first night. We joked around the fire, played cards, passed drinks. Nothing out of the ordinary until around 1 a.m. when Jason, our medic, stood up suddenly and said, "I think someone's down there." He pointed toward the quarry edge. We thought he was messing around until he took off downhill, fast. We followed. He was standing at the quarry rim, flashlight pointing down at the pond. There was someone, or something, standing on the surface of the water. No splashes. No sinking. Just standing. Perfectly still. And staring straight up. Jason muttered, "That's not funny," and started down the rocks. But the rest of us froze. And then, The figure turned around. Slowly. Not toward Jason, but toward us. I remember this part in horrible clarity. Its reflection didn't turn. Only the figure. The air turned bitter cold. Our phones powered off all at once. Flashlights dimmed to orange glows. Jason reached the bottom. Then he disappeared. No scream. No splash. Nothing. Puzzle piece second day, we couldn't leave. We tried hiking back to the trailhead at dawn. 3 hours into the hike, we looped right back to camp. The forest was folding in on itself. I noticed at first, every shadow looked off. Trees cast shadows in the wrong direction. One of the tents was zipped closed, except none of us used it. We opened it. Jason's backpack was inside. Dry. Untouched. And inside it was a rock, wet and heavy as bone. Kindled voices at nightfall. That night we heard whispers. Not just random ones. They said our names. Graham, don't leave the fire. Elliot, we're behind you. Every time someone tried to leave the light, their flashlight would go out. At 3:17 a.m., Alexis stood up. They said I could go, she whispered. She walked into the trees. We never heard her again. Cyclone something was replacing us. On the final night, we heard footsteps around the tents. But when we stepped out, nothing. Except, there were new tents. 2 of them. Perfect copies of ours, set up just 20 feet away. Empty, but warm inside. Like someone had just left. But it was the last night that made me understand what was happening. I woke up to a copy of myself, standing at the pond, smiling. It turned its head 180 degrees to look at me. And whispered, "You're already here, you just haven't left yet." End arrow how I escaped. I don't remember walking out. I woke up in the bed of a ranger station 40 miles away, dehydrated and confused. No one believed me. Edgewater Quarry has been closed off since then, gated, patrolled, erased from the provincial trail maps. But sometimes, I see photos on Reddit of campers out there again. Always from new accounts. No replies. Always at night. And in every one, there's a figure in the water.